Welcome everyone to Chat, Grapple and Cheap Pops podcast. I am Chris Dredd and I'm here with my main man Jordan JB.
What's happening?
And yeah, I hope everyone's all right. Still kind of locked down, and I hope you're enjoying our regular videos that we're putting up. We're trying not to have too much of a gap in between. We are, trying to put them out regular, so there's not too much of a gap. And today we have got a very strange one. We've got it's an important pay per view, but it is strange in many different ways because there's a lot going on behind the scenes with this one. But I think we might have some news before we kick into that. We might have to mention a few other bits and bobs. So yeah, JB, what's going on, man?
Yeah, this is a this is a tough one. I don't remember watching this for a long time, probably since it first came out, and we're looking at 1997. So I was 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember it being this. I'm going to use the word off key to start with because there's so much going on, and this stuff you probably wouldn't notice when you were 10.
Yeah.
But when you're into your 30s, you take a look at it and go, "Oh, okay, this isn't right. Why is this happening? Why are they doing this?"
That's
And
right.
yeah, I mean, we'll get into it. Um, as is sometimes customary with watching our shows, Chris has been watching VHS. There it is, and I was watching it on the WWE Network. Um, no free for all this time.
No free for all. So my fix of Todd Pettengill, I didn't get it, which is unfortunate, but it will always have a place in my heart, so that's fine.
Um, yeah, well, I mean, we can get straight into it. It's World Wrestling Federation in Your House, Bad Blood, 1997, presented by PlayStation.
Presented
This
by
is something that came up
PlayStation.
earlier.
That's correct.
Um, favorite PlayStation wrestling game, Chris?
Um, Probably don't know, man. Thunder's on there.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
yeah, Attitude I think was on there on the arse end of it. Yeah, so probably Attitude, WWF Attitude, but I prefer it on the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
Run better.
I know everyone loved SmackDown and SmackDown 2 and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but I'm going with WCW versus the World.
Great game. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're
I
we're,
love
we're massive WCW like marks anyway, dude. So you know.
um, yeah. Yeah, so presented by PlayStation. So it took me right back to the old days of PS1s for anyone, under the age of like 25 had probably had no idea what was going on.
That's right.
5th of October 1997. The date is horribly poignant when we get to it at the start of the show. There's no house set. Like in your house, you used to have the big set, the house. There isn't one here.
No.
We're in the Kiel Center in St. Louis, which would become notorious for other reasons in a couple of years' time. Yeah, and we get the see now. This is where I was already surprised. We get the big welcome everyone like start from Vince. It's cheerful, it's happy, it's hyper.
No, no. On the video, we do not get that.
Oh, you don't?
We get like a little intro vignette thing, which is like basically setting up for Shawn Michaels. It's like a little video, and he says it just is a picture of Shawn Michaels, and it says pride, confidence, extraordinary talent. And then he's like, mix that with arrogance, conceit, and self adulation. And then it's like basically just showing you what's happened and setting it all up, and you know, bad blood in your
I get something
house.
like that later on. I get that later on down the line.
That's the first thing on the
But I get,
video. Before you even hear Vince McMahon, welcome everyone. Before you even get that,
yeah,
you get this really solemn music and a really slow motion picture of Shawn Michaels doing that, and then showing the bit where he hit the Undertaker with a chair during the Bret Hitman Hart match, when he was the guest referee and that kind of thing. So yeah, no, that was initially what was on the VHS. So yeah, you get it later on, but yeah.
You get the big welcome everyone. It's Vince, it's Jerry Lawler, it's JR in the commentary booth for this one, at ringside. Nation of Domination music hits. Like it seems like it's pretty fast paced. It's gonna go pretty quickly. But then we cut back to Vince, who announces that Brian Pillman's passed away.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, like they do mention that they say it on the free for all. We haven't seen that. Vince said that there's very little info so far. He goes a little bit further into some horrible detail later on, but he said there's very little info so far. And then I'm not sure whether it's under direction or he's just going through it, but Jim Ross goes straight back into show mode
straight away
and starts talking about a nation.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, this isn't nice. This isn't cool.
There's a scary theme running through this. So if you look, it's 1997. Vince had already gone through a problem with the drugs and the steroids and the doctors that were prescribing talent stuff that they probably shouldn't have been having in the amounts that they were having. And he later on makes a comment that is very poignant for me, where we'll get to it, but I think the reason why they do this in this way, and if I'm honest, I don't think I hear once through this pay-per-view them actually say rest in peace Brian Pillman.
We don't.
I don't think we hear that, but we do hear them say other stuff, which will become apparent later on, because I think it's maybe 3 or 4 times they bring up the death of Brian Pillman, in a sense where they're all sitting there and the camera's just on them and they're talking directly about it. It's a really, really weird. It's very, very strange.
I mean, as you might know from our first 4 episodes, we're pretty positive about stuff. This doesn't bode well for the show.
It doesn't. We'll be positive about the things that we like on this show, as we always are. But like what we always say as well, sometimes things are just shit. And there's nothing you can really do about it. There's nothing you can't polish a turd at the end of the day, and you can't take words out of people's mouths. You can't, you can. There's a lot of people on this pay-per-view that are directly connected to Brian Pillman, in a very, very close, personal, even a familial way. You have Stone Cold Steve Austin, who was his partner as the Hollywood Blondes for a good few years, still very good friends. You've got the Hart Foundation, who have described Brian Pillman as being the only non-family member of the family, basically. All the other people like Neidhart and like the British Bulldog, they were actually family, married into the family. But Brian Pillman was someone who wasn't married into the family, but was family. And it happened, they say he died that afternoon. So we're talking, he was found in his hotel room in Bloomington, Minnesota that day, because basically they were trying to get hold of him and they didn't know what was going on. They didn't know where he was. They tried to get hold of him. They tried to get someone to get hold of him and find him, and they rang the hotel and basically found that he was found dead in his hotel room, because on the night before it was Shotgun Saturday Night. So this is the Sunday of the In Your House 18, which is October the 5th. October the 4th was Shotgun Saturday Night in Bloomington, Minnesota. So that is You know, yeah, it's very, very, you can imagine, a close friend, family member dying, and then you have to go and do a pay-per-view, and also, let's not forget, sorry, dude, to go on, but let's not forget, this was a crazy time for the WWF because you had WCW on at the same time. You had Stone Cold Steve Austin had just broken his neck not that long ago. So everything was thrown up in the air. Stone Cold was still coming on and doing bits and bobs and that, but it's a very touchy time anyway. And Vince is probably his bumhole's going like that anyway because he's thinking,
Well, you only have to look at the match, the card, the list on the back of the VHS insert. It's not filled with stars.
No, not at all.
But they do their best, and things have to. They've all got to play a part. They've all got to be who they got to be.
That's right.
And I mean, yeah, it's we'll keep rolling with this. Yeah, like I said, Jim Ross goes straight into show mode. Doesn't work like that. Bugged me from the minute go, and I'm going to get past it and move on to that. Rocky, Karma, and D'Lo from the Nation of Domination make their way to the ring. They're going up against Legion of Doom, and I don't know, but it looked like the commentary team were leading us to a surprise partner who turned out to be nobody.
Yeah.
It was meant to be Ken Shamrock. Ken Shamrock was injured in a cage. He already had a lung infection. That was legit. He then had for some reason toughed it out and had a wild sort of cage match in FMW with Vader. And
yeah.
I watched
in Tokyo, right?
Yeah, somewhere in Japan.
Yeah.
I watched the match. It was on like the 28th of September that year, and it was pretty tough. And he wasn't really in any shape to perform. So LOD decide they're going to go it alone. Vince calls them American Originals, and they get the Road Warrior pop.
They get that pop.
It's a big one. They straight out the gate got Rocky Sucks chants from this busy crowd. And do you reckon anyone in that crowd had the foresight that he would be so much bigger than their Rocky Sucks chants?
No, I mean his finisher didn't even really have a name. They didn't call it the Rock Bottom at this point. Because he uses it during this match, and they don't call it the Rock Bottom. They do mention obviously he's a third generation superstar. It's funny. You've got in this match, you've got people like Karma Mustafa, right? Who, aka Karma, the Extreme Fighting Machine, aka Papa Shango. So he's been wrestling for years. You've got so many years of talent in this match. It's a bit crazy. Just looking on the top of it, you just think, oh, it's just But you look at the people. You've got Farouk, who is obviously Ron Simmons. You've got. I mean, how many years had he been wrestling before this? Very, very, very experienced people. You've got Karma. You've got Farouk wasn't obviously in this match, but he's part of the Nation of Domination, and he makes his presence felt in this match. But you've also got the Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal. But Road Warrior Animal, Joe Laurinaitis, is John Laurinaitis' brother, who's stepfather to the Bella twins. So it's if you want to do a little bit of wrestling history there, I'll give it to you because a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't know that though, do they? A lot of the younger guys that watch this might not know.
They wouldn't do their diligent research.
They don't know that the Bella twins are actually the stepdaughters of John Laurinaitis, who is the brother of Road Warrior Animal. So there you go. Bit of history for you. And also, one of the Bella twins is married to Bryan Danielson. I think everyone knows that, don't they?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I
It
spent
really
on
annoyed
WWE.
me. It really annoyed me that they swapped his name round to Daniel Bryan.
It's more likely to be a
It was a copyright thing.
trademark issue.
Yeah, they wanted to trademark it, but they want to. Vince wants to own everything to do with his
You
talent.
want to own people's names. That's not cool.
It's not cool, man. Especially the fact of what they've done to China. I've mentioned it in a previous episode where they said that she couldn't use her name anywhere else, even though she was the one that built that up and made it what it was. There was only one China. So so there's a lot of experience in this ring, basically, is what I'm saying.
There is, but there's a lot of mistakes too. Karma and Hawk,
Yeah.
no sell a double clothesline.
Yes.
Like, what is going on?
From
we know
the word go.
Hawk likes the no sell.
Yeah.
We always knew that.
We know.
But Karma decides he's going to do it too.
Yeah.
The result is a bit messy.
I think the underlying theme of this pay-per-view is everyone is a little bit shocked of what has gone on this day, because Brian Pillman dying in the afternoon or being found, he was supposed to have a massive match with Dude Love, correct?
Yeah.
And he just had a massive feud. He was going through the feud with Goldust and Marlena. They just on Shotgun Saturday Night had some kind of thing, I think, where Marlena was supposedly had run off with Pillman.
I haven't seen that bit.
Yeah, I think that was the thing, because
on Saturday Night on the network yet either.
No,
which is
but they mentioned that. They mentioned, we don't know what's happened with Marlena and Pillman. They're still trying to weave the fucking storylines into real life. Do you know what I mean? They're trying to, we don't know what's happening with Marlena and Pillman. It's like, just fucking stop, man. Just stop. You know what I mean? Stop.
Yeah. Animal always had a picture perfect power slam.
Yeah.
Incredible. Like, always, swift and, no stopping, no messing. Really well done. At this point, I've got Vince. He calls D'Lo the Lennox Lewis of the WWF.
Don't know where.
I'm not sure.
No.
But all I know, I did a tiny bit of research on this. Lennox Lewis battered Andrew Gallotta the night before in 1 minute 35 in his world title defense. But I'm not really sure what that means to D'Lo. Yeah, I don't know.
Sorry, I love D'Lo. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
I've got
D'Lo.
this. My next point underneath is D'Lo looks like the star.
Yeah. D'Lo's good, man. Was it D'Lo Brown that had the accident with Darren Droz?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunate, man, because he must have felt like shit.
I'm not sure his career ever recovered from that.
I don't think it did either. I don't think you would feel great at all, being involved in that. Not that it was directly his fault or whatever, but just being involved in something like that. Cerebral. Did you have you got Hawk nearly breaking D'Lo's neck with like a kind of a rude awakening thing? He does like a neck breaker thing, and
neck breaker, yeah.
Yeah, he does and he keeps hold of his head as they go down, and I think if D'Lo would have been a little bit shorter, it would have maybe flipping ripped his head off.
Rocky is still pretty green here.
Yeah, he's very good theatrically. Really good theatrically, playing the crowd and the looks and the,
Something I noticed was the chin lock facing away from the hard camera. It was like, and I think Animal's trying to turn him and shift him, like get him to face that camera. It's all like this new stuff in it. Like, you're not going to know all that straight away.
They also refer to him as Rocky Sorry, mate. They also refer to him as Rocky Maivia and Rocky Johnson during the yeah.
I've got the LOD aren't selling much for Rocky.
No, I did notice.
I'm not sure whether it's we'll maybe we can make the same point all night that it could be about Brian Pillman, or it could be just that LOD didn't want to sell for him. And if they didn't want to sell for someone, they just wouldn't. You know.
Do you think that they were upset that they weren't involved in the tag match, the tag championship match that was to later follow?
If they were more annoyed, they wouldn't. They'd be annoyed that they weren't in the flag match.
True.
American original.
I mean, don't. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll get onto that flag match.
Yeah. What a frog splash!
Fantastic
Unreal
stuff. Great stuff.
D'Lo's a star here. Gets a 2 count from it. They hot tag it to Hawk. Hawk starts laying waste. Farouk makes his way down to ringside. Doesn't really get too involved. Just makes his presence felt.
Yeah.
And then we get the unnamed finisher.
The unnamed finisher. Yeah.
Which would later be the rock bottom.
Yeah.
And this is where it struck me that Rocky gets a clean 3 count on Hawk.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why he wasn't selling. They weren't selling for him
because he didn't want to lay down for him. He didn't want to put him over. Yeah.
And I got underneath. My MVP in this was D'Lo. Oh, he was brilliant.
I love D'Lo. Me personally, I love the Nation of Domination. Very poignant at the moment where we have a Black Power. We're watching a pay-per-view with the Nation of Domination, which is basically like a Black Power movement, and we've got everything going on that we're seeing in America at the moment. It's a strange one. It really, when I was watching it, I was thinking, oh man, like we picked this, a long time. We picked this a while ago. To do this.
Yeah, we picked this way ahead of time. We just haven't, got around to talk about, Well, we didn't know this was all going to take place.
No, we didn't. But like I say, I really do like the Nation of Domination gimmick. I thought it was great, and we have later on in this we have the match which involved 2 former members of the Nation of Domination in Savio Vega and Crush, who were excommunicated as it's been played out. They're excommunicated and they started off their own little sects, their own little gangs.
I got Doc Hendricks and Sonny promoting the Superstar line. Did you have this?
No, I didn't have the Superstar line. And it annoys. I don't call him Doc Hendricks. It's annoying, man. It's
Michael Hayes.
It's Michael Hayes, man. What was up with that whole Doc Hendricks stuff?
Freebird himself.
Yeah.
I'm going to refer to him as his WWF name here.
No, he's Doc Hendricks. That's fine. I can go with that. Just as an off point, there's a really funny compilation VHS that I have, and Doc Hendricks is actually wearing like a cap in it, or some merchandise. So he's wearing like the WWF shirt and the WWF hat, but it's still got like the tag attached to it, and he's still wearing it. And like Michael Hayes, it's been said that he was like an absolutely huge drinker, and alcoholic, and he was taking that stuff, Antabuse, where you drink it, and when you drink alcohol, it makes you throw up, it makes you feel like absolute dog shit. And he was still actually just getting totally smashed whilst on Antabuse. He was like, proper party animal. I love a bit of Doc Hendricks. Don't get me wrong, his energy is just. Michael Hayes, Michael Hayes, man, he's great.
Doc and Sonny, promote the Superstar line for the night. They talk about, possibly talking to the LOD and all that, the winners and the losers of the matches.
Yeah.
And then we cut back to Vince, who announces again that Pillman's died.
Yeah.
And this is a little different.
Yeah.
Because I hear the crack in Vince's voice.
Yeah. I heard the crack, but it's weird because he knows more than what we do at this time. Yeah. So it's one of them ones where there's a crack in his voice and he's talking about it, but then he says he goes straight from that, and because he says they mentioned that there was a match scheduled between Dude Love and Brian Pillman, but it's weird that he didn't say we send our wishes to the family. Nothing
anything.
like that. And then, yeah, there's a bit of a crack in his voice and he's very solemn. But then, literally within the next minute, he's like, "But we scrambled this attraction for you together, and blah blah blah." And what is the attraction that you are
It's
fucking replacing Dude Love and Brian Pillman with?
it's mini time.
Fucking midgets, man. Jeez, fucking midgets, man. Oh, it, I,
Little luchadors.
sorry, not midgets, little luchadors. Yeah, mini match, right? And to be honest, I mean, it's really hard to be positive, yeah, because this match was, I like to say it's dog shit, but it was really terrible. And usually the little mini luchadors are pretty good, but I can imagine that they were called up at the last minute.
Yeah,
They
they were
probably
probably
just got off a plane.
they were there probably and told, right, you're not working a dark match now, you're working the pay-per-view.
Yeah, dude, you're
And
on.
it's Mosaic and Tarantula against Mini Nova and the crowd favorite Max Mini.
Max Mini, the world's
Yeah.
smallest athlete.
I mean, I put it here in the notes. There's big cheers for him.
Big cheers.
It's
There's
Max
big
Mini.
cheers. King hated him.
King said he looked a lot bigger on the Lucky Charms box. Vince tells him no little jokes.
And he says, "Oh, I've got loads of them, man. Let me go. Let me go." He says, "I've
Yeah,
got loads of them if you let me go."
begging for
And
that.
JR says something about it. He goes, "Look, JR's telling a short joke."
I mean, they are quick. I'll give them their credit. These boys are quick. They are fast. They,
Yeah,
as JR would put it, they're quicker than a hiccup.
quicker than a hiccup.
JR said that they all four could fit into the Godwins overalls.
Yes, I see that. And he said someone has a sandwich. I bet they have a sandwich bigger than them.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there's not a lot to go on. Like Max Mini gets press slammed onto the commentary table, and Jerry Lawler's cackling,
Like
and loving every minute of that.
in his face.
Yeah.
He's like, "Ah!" like pointing at him and that. Like, phenomenal stuff.
There's too many botches on here to count in this match.
Too
So
many.
I'm just going to say this. The finish was botched. It ends up being that Max pins Tarantula with a crucifix. It's quick. It's filler.
It's filler.
And maybe they were scrambling, maybe they weren't. But that's it. It's the mini match and it's gone.
I mean, the cameraman misses a few bits. I think there's a bit of dodgy camera work goes on in all the matches. There's definitely some dodgy camera work in the next match. But hey ho.
Yeah, we've got a promo video for. I'm not sure if you had this on the video. Promo vid for Austin 316 t-shirts.
Nah, didn't have that on the video.
It must have stuck with me because I've got one. Maybe it was just in my head, like just kept playing over and over.
I'll tell you, sorry, Owen Hart has got a great T-shirt that he wears in this pay-per-view as well. Along those lines, we'll get to that.
Austin does not like.
No, Austin don't like it. He calls it cheap pop son of a bitch, or cheap heat son of a bitch.
Yeah. We've got 21,151 in attendance, apparently.
Yeah, dude, I've written that down. How weird is that we just, and this is, 21,000 people. A lot of people in the building. And the crowd are quite hot at times.
Our day is about to get sunny. Because she comes to the ring. She's the ring announcer for the match.
The tag team match.
I wouldn't have put her anywhere near a microphone, but that's my preference. It's a tag team title match, and my brain must have gone on this because I never remember the Headbangers being tag team champions.
Yeah, they were for a short time.
Yeah.
This pay-per-view, I believe. Have you seen Bret the Hitman Hart's documentary Wrestling with Shadows?
Yeah.
I'm sure you have seen it. I'm sure many people that are watching this have seen this. Around this time, Bret had camera people with him He had people documenting stuff, because it was in the time where he was in between having a deal with WWF and having a deal with WCW and going back and forth, and Vince offering him this massive, huge deal, and then reneging on it, saying, look, we can't afford it, you know, and this, that, and the other. So the reason why I say that is because I remember in Wrestling with Shadows, the headbangers are mentioned in it, where Brett says to his son, go and annoy the headbangers for a little bit, you know, and you see the headbangers running around with his kid. So they just seem to me to be quite nice guys, the headbangers, Mosh and Thrasher, who, when I was growing up, you know, I used to love them. And they make a huge point of one of their pierced tongues in this, because I'm gathering in '97 not many people had pierced tongues. It weren't that mainstream.
I would imagine not. But yeah, it's the Headbangers Tag Team Champions against the Godwins, Phineas and Henry, with Uncle Cletus, who I forgot existed as well.
Yes.
Uncle Cletus, who was TL Hopper, the wrestling plumber.
That's correct.
And more commonly known as, and this isn't a racial thing, this is just the name he used, Dirty White Boy Tony Anthony.
Dirty White Boy. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, Uncle Cletus, I'd forgotten all about it. JR wonders what Sam Mushnick and Lou Thez would be thinking about these two tag teams, and I did chuckle about that.
I mean, and Sam Mushnick and Lou Thez make a showing later on in the pay-per-view.
Yeah. He also tries to explain the Godwin family history. My brain shut off, I think, at that point, because, you know, unless they got to Hillbilly Jim, I don't think I was that bothered.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Godwins come out with a Confederate flag. It's past its time, that flag, for sure.
Yeah.
No, I can't imagine it's anyone's fault, because it was still widely accepted in 1997. It's not now. They have it on they have it on both of their knees as well, I think.
They do. They've got patches sewn into their knees. Yeah. They had some real heat. The Godwins. They really did. I mean, Phineas, who would later become Midian.
Naked Midian, yeah.
Yeah, Naked Midian. You know, a great wrestler. You know, he'd worked hard. You know, Henry Godwin had also worked hard. Henry Godwin actually was one of the guys that feuded with Triple H when he was first Hunter Hearst Helmsley. I remember them having a pig pen match at one of the other In Your Houses.
Well, they also feature in episode, I think it's episode 2 of our podcast, as Shanghai Pierce and Tex Slazenger.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. Yeah. Yes.
Back in WCW in '93.
Yeah.
It's a little nod to them again. Did you see Thrasher's attempt at a Hurricane Rana from the ring apron?
Yeah.
Oh, this looked like it was bad.
But first, the cameraman missed it, right?
Yes, he missed it.
The cameraman missed it, and then Vince says, right, we'll catch it again. You should have just fucking left it. It was terrible. He literally just threw his legs in the air and landed on his back. Like, it was terrible. Yeah. Leave it. No wonder the cameraman missed it.
A really dicey double flapjack as well.
Oh, dude. Oh, mate. Was that a bad call, or was it the person taking it? Because he tried to do a flip, didn't he? Instead of just taking a front bump. Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah.
And I can't see who's made that call or made that error.
No, that's right.
It doesn't look nice. It doesn't look good. He almost drops him on his head.
Almost, yeah. He was very lucky he didn't break his neck.
Yeah, be safe out there.
Be safe out there, guys.
Headbangers had some good double team moves. They were tidy working stuff, that was, and
yeah,
I was quite enjoying it.
I'd like to say I liked the Headbangers. I enjoyed the gimmick. I liked the fact they had stockings and boxer shorts and skirts. I thought that was great.
But Yeah, the Godwins win it with a roll up.
Yeah.
Yeah, just I'm not sure where the booking is on this.
There's another match that is finished with a extremely light move as well. It is, yeah, it's later on in the pay-per-view. It's really strange. They're finished with like a backbreaker,
Yeah, yeah, I know the one you're
like
talking
a
about.
tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. It's like, where's the booking on that one? But that was
Yeah,
apparently another filler match though, which probably would have been called in the ring or whatever.
I mean the
So
Godwins win the tag titles on a roll up. Carry on. I mean, obviously they've got like any heat for winning the titles on a roll up, so they carry on battering the headbangers, and then they're told to leave or be stripped of their titles, so they go, and it's like, oh, okay, that's it.
yeah.
We'll move on. Yeah, like if you're going to give it little time, then so are we. I get another Stone Cold Steve Austin video promo.
I get the yes. We've got the Stone Cold vignette, and it's where you've got he's talking to Vince McMahon, and he's saying Vince McMahon says to him, "Look, you've got three options. You know, the first option is you go and get a doctor to sign you and say that you're
Yeah,
good to come back. The second option is, you know, you would absolve us of all responsibility and you come back. And the third option is I sack you. Um, you know, and then you've got the Owen Hart promo at the end of that as well.
yeah. Owen with Michael Cole, very young Michael Cole. This was
Yeah,
probably just after that war corresponding he did.
yeah,
Um, Owen Hart guaranteed this. Now I'm going to say this is a very, very miserable looking Owen Hart.
yeah.
He doesn't want to be there,
No.
and he doesn't want to do this. He guarantees victory.
How fucking
But
poignant is it that you've got Owen Hart in this situation where someone has just died that day and he's having to put a brave face on it and do it, and then what would happen to him?
I
You
mean,
know,
I mentioned this earlier. We are in St. Louis, and it is the building that Owen would later in 1999 fall to his own death in. Like, what a fucking city this is.
but you can't make it up, dude. You know, two
You
people
can't.
that are linked like that. You've got Owen Hart and Brian Pillman that are basically family. You know, Brian
Yeah,
Pillman first he went to Canada as a lad, basically trying to play American football, and then got into
and he takes
wrestling, and
the XL, yeah.
the Hearts took him in, and he was part of the family. You know, it's unbelievable that would happen, that Pillman would, unbelievable,
Don't
mate.
get me wrong. This isn't a knock on St. Louis. One day I'll hopefully visit you. But yeah,
Oh
like
yeah, it's just so
unlucky as well.
sad. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, yeah, Owen doesn't want to be in front of a camera or a microphone right now.
no,
He does it anyway, like a pro, and yeah, guarantees victory. That's it. Like we could talk about that bit all night, but we'll skip on to JR in the ring
yeah,
because he starts introducing some St. Louis legends, which will cheer us up a bit anyway.
yeah,
Gene Kiniski. I have little to no memory of Gene, to be honest,
yeah,
in any sort of wrestling form. Jack Briscoe, who everyone knows.
yeah. And we know who
Dory
his
Funk
brother.
Jr.
We know who his
Yeah,
brother is as well. Yeah,
Dory Funk Jr., who I feel has a more famous brother as well.
yes.
Um, Harley Race. I
The
mean, what a
pop,
legend here.
the pop, but when Harley Race came out,
Yeah.
nearly blew the roof off the place.
It's yeah. I mean, Harley's got mad respect here. Um, Terry Funk as well, and Terry Funk, I've got underneath would have like only months later would eventually be Chainsaw Charlie.
Yeah, there's a very strange part in this where I swear Vince McMahon says ECW Terry Funk.
Yeah, he says ECW's Terry Funk.
Does he say that? It wasn't just me then. He
Yeah,
does say
yeah, he
ECW's
does
Terry
say it,
Funk.
yeah. Because I think around '97, doesn't he become champion in ECW?
Yeah, didn't they have like a little kind of arrangement around that time as well, where they had some ECW guys turn up at Raw
Yeah, they were
when they
on
had
Raw,
it
and
in New York somewhere?
yeah, at the Manhattan. I think they did, like Paul Heyman and some of the crew would turn up, and even had a couple of matches on there.
Yeah, that's right.
Um, yeah, so Terry Funk, Sam Mushnick, and Lou Thez, and I'd say it's great reaction for everyone. They're obviously massive St. Louis legends, and wrestling was big back in the day over there. And yeah, I got it's really, I mean, positive stuff. That is, we're staying positive.
Yeah, we're trying to stay positive, man. There was some big pops. Like I say, there's some big stars there. Dory Funk Jr., Terry Funk, Harley Race, Lou Thez, Jack Briscoe. But some real big names that everyone knows, and everyone knows, the promoter Sam Mushnick. So, Lou Thez, they say, probably had the longest career of anyone. He was
Yeah,
wrestling. His last match, he was 72.
yeah, and he was
Unreal.
a notorious sort of like tough guy in the ring as well. If you if you wanted the title from him, you had to beat him for it. You had to take it from him, and no one had the no one had the stones to take it from him, I guess.
When wrestlers were marks.
Yes. I
Sorry.
mean, he's clearly some sort of like super shooter. I mean, not quite in the echelons of Dean Malenko, but
Let's not.
we'll move on.
This is going to be like an ongoing thing, which I'm happy to do. Do you know what I mean? Like I was trying to think of, you know, some other, but like I say, I'm just not a fan of Malenko, man. Like I just, you know,
I knew I'd get you onto the subject at some point here.
it just I
So,
just can't. I'm not.
what the way?
Yeah. Okay.
Should we move on?
Let's move on. Doc Hendricks, aka
Okay.
Michael Hayes, and Farouk and the Nation. Is that who
Yeah,
you've got next?
I've gotten that next year. It just, I've again, not a lot to say. Farouk wants Austin to stay out of the way. Farouk and Pillman were co-workers, friends in the early '90s in WCW.
Yeah.
Had a lot in common. Both played, American football. Both, started, then transitioned to wrestling, and it just, it's starting to feel like it's slowly going downhill here for a lot of the guys who are on the upper card. Not really fancying this one tonight.
No. A lot of
And
them.
Vince again.
Oh, dude. This is the. Yeah.
This is
Sorry.
the one I don't want. Yeah, it's not nice.
This is the
Yeah.
one that gets me, and the one that annoys me about Vince, where you can see he's shitting himself about one thing and one thing only, and that is the toxicology reports coming back from Pillman. And this is what also I reckon prompted him to have Melanie Pillman on the following night's Monday Night Raw.
I've
Okay?
actually got in notes. Man, this is fucking tasteless.
It's tasteless, dude. He's covering
Oh,
his own arse. The way he mentions, he says, in professional sports, we know that it's very hard on the body or whatever, and that they have to take certain medications to get over things. And I'm sitting there thinking, right, someone could have possibly fucking OD'd on medicine that they got probably non-prescription, which they should have been getting from a doctor, but they were getting from your dodgy doctor. And all you give a shit about is it going to look bad on me? Was it the drugs that he was getting off my man that has killed him? And even this comes up in the Melanie Pillman interview the next day, where he talks about, he says, oh, he was taking, we know that he was in pain and stuff like that, because like a lot of people don't really know the ins and outs of Brian Pillman, but Brian Pillman at one point he fell asleep at the wheel just before he was signed to WWE, WWF. Around that time, he fell asleep at the wheel and was in a car crash and fucked his ankle up to the point where they had to fuse it. So before he'd even he got the second guaranteed contract, because before these times no one got guaranteed contracts with WWF. It was like,
no, it's all WCW, yeah.
Yeah, it was pay to play, but because Vince kept losing all people to WCW because of these guaranteed contracts, just as a quiz, do you know the first person that got the guaranteed contract?
Oh, what, in the Federation?
Yeah. Bit of trivia.
Is it Brett?
Hey, it was Mark Mero.
Oh, okay.
It was the wild man Mark Mero. He was the guy to get the first guaranteed contract, and number 2 was Brian Pillman, because he wanted to guarantee, that he would keep these guys. And literally, it was a year before this, a year before Pillman died, he signed the guaranteed contract. So he was only a year into it, and then he's died. He had a fused ankle, so he was on a lot of pain pills. He fell asleep at the wheel, obviously, like I say. June the 10th, 96 was when Pillman signed his contract, second to Mark Mero. And then within 16 months, he had died. So...
I mean, we could spend hours talking about Pillman's career and how he essentially booked his own release from WCW in a stroke of genius to get out of that contract.
Dude, and it's funny because I watched we rewatch WCW stuff all the time, and at the Clash of the Champions thing, where he's got the Respect You strap match against Kevin Sullivan, and he says,
against our friend Kevin Sullivan.
Yeah, and he says, "I respect you, Booker Man."
Yeah.
To him, and he gets fired the next day. He gets fired because obviously he's showing light that basically Sullivan's the booker and he's putting himself over.
Yeah.
It's a strange one. Like you say, he did, and then he went to WCW. He went to ECW for a little bit, didn't he? Did a few bits in ECW. It's I mean, Brian Pillman. If
anyone hasn't seen Pillman's debut in ECW, it is fucking wild. Absolutely wild. It is incredible to watch. Like, he is so crazily over that fan base.
Yeah.
And he essentially says whatever he wants. And yeah, it's a mad debut. Like, get on, just look it up. You can find it anywhere on YouTube, I think.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's on the network somewhere, but yeah, it's one of the best debuts I've seen, like, across any of the wrestling shows. Should we move on to the? Have you got anything else to add to?
Yeah, I was just disgusted, really, with Vince McMahon. I was really disgusted at this, at how he was placing. He was positioning himself to kind of cover his own bases, and he kept saying, but we've scrambled together to cover basically the fact that one of our guys has died, of a heart attack.
I've got a question a little bit further on, but I'm going to bring it on now because we're at that point, I think. Bearing in mind how well the WWE do a tribute show now, like, they've been in a position where they've had to put on tribute shows on the last minute, for Eddie Guerrero. They did it for Chris Benoit, Owen. Considering they did all that, like, where do you sit with the whole show must go on thing? Could they have put together a Pillman tribute show this night? Because they never did. I mean, other people put on a Pillman memorial, didn't they?
And people were having, and to be fair, I mean, I've watched a shoot interview with Pillman Jr. and he says that he appreciates that Vince let a lot of talent do those shows. And you had people that were on the roster having 5-star matches, you know, real slobber knockers, Pillman benefits, and they continue to do it over the years. He continued to let people just do these benefits. But again, we've brought this up in another episode. Melanie Pillman, you know, even from the horse's mouth of his son, he says that she wasn't very nice. You know, his mum wasn't nice, and the money, they didn't see any of the money from the benefits. And the fact that her and Brian weren't even really together at that time. And there's even the son says that the youngest child is probably not Brian's, because she was having a relationship with another person, you know, at that time. So, you know, the fact that they were doing all these benefits and stuff, but Brian Pillman Jr. and the sister didn't really see any of it. And if it wasn't for Brian Pillman's sister helping raising them, you know, God knows what would have happened, because apparently the mum was just rotten, you know, because I've read interviews with the sister as well, you know, and with Brian Pillman Jr.'s sister, and she says, look, you know, we didn't get anything from her. She was a druggy alcoholic.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah. Sorry, to your point about could they have done?
Go on.
The show must go on.
Could you smack together a tribute show?
What to be honest, I think the time limit. No, I personally think, but I also think as well they longed out the legends. You know, the St. Louis legends. Yeah. I think they longed out that section by adding a bit more video and stuff and chatting. I think they stretched that out. Obviously, they had the mini Mexican luchadors that they had on the thing, and they probably give them a bit of a longer match.
The next night on Raw?
Next night on Raw, 100%. 100%. Yeah, I mean, because the fact is they didn't find out that Pillman had died until the afternoon before this show. So when would this show have kicked off? Maybe 8 o'clock at night. You know, you're not really going to get anything from 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You've got 7 hours. All right, you probably did scramble to get a few things together. Fair enough, fine. But next night on Raw, you don't do what you've done. You don't have Pillman's wife come on.
It's awful, so cringe, and like it's not something I would ever really want to sit through again.
I watched it again. I watched it today when you sent me the link to it, because I'd forgotten that it happened, and as soon as I started watching, I was like, "Fucking, I remember this. This was awful." And I do remember Pillman Jr. mentioning the segment on Raw the next night and just saying it shouldn't have happened, you know, and it looked like she was putting it on and all. But there you go.
Let's move on to the final of the Intercontinental Championship tournament. Title was vacated after Stone Cold Steve Austin couldn't compete. He got the pile driver at SummerSlam from Owen, or the Tombstone pile driver, where Owen sat out instead of dropped to his knees. Austin had some spinal issues. I know they called it a broken neck, but it wasn't.
He had compressed vertebrae, I think, in his spine.
Owen is referred to here by the Fink as two-time Slammy Award winner Owen Hart. I thought that was hilarious.
I love it. I love the way they play up the Slammies. I've actually got the 1997 Slammy Awards on VHS as well. So, I enjoy watching it, because actually one of them weren't even his awards.
No, he just came up and nicked it.
That's right. So, you gotta love it. You had to love Owen Hart, but you could see he wasn't.
He didn't want to be here.
He wasn't there this match. You know, he wasn't there, and you know, it's a shame.
He's not even feeling it like normal. He's not having any fun. Austin comes to ringside to a big pop, just causing havoc. Like it might not be this way, but it looks like Austin's just doing whatever the hell he wants
Yeah.
because he takes a headset, he takes Vince's headset, starts chatting away.
He takes all the
Yeah,
headsets. He goes across the
yeah,
countries.
he goes to he says to Owen, cheap heat at his best about the Owen 316 t-shirt.
Yeah, Owen's got a T-shirt that says Owen 316, and on the back it says I just broke your neck. And he takes it off and he hangs it on the ropes facing Austin, and he's doing this, like doing the thing, and he's like, you didn't break my neck, you cheap heat son of a bitch. Like he's like, but I think you can also see not only the physical pain in Austin, you can hear the emotional pain of his friend dying that day. They mention it. Vince doesn't want to mention it.
No.
He mentions, he mentions, maybe Stone Cold is upset about Pillman, but then he kind of cuts himself off and stops, and then JR says
they went their separate ways and all that. Yeah,
they went their separate ways and all that, and he said, but they were very close or whatever in recent years or whatever. It's
yeah. Austin takes headset after headset. He goes to the Spanish team, he goes to the French team, says he can't speak French.
Yeah.
Like it's chaotic. It's a little bit like almost like Austin's gone into business for himself a little bit, and just figured, you know what, how am I going to make this worth anything?
Because you know why? Because he didn't want to lose his heat. He didn't want to lose his shine. And the fact is, he got dropped on his head by Owen at a time when he was fucking white hot. Absolutely white hot. And the way he looked at it was like, if I'm not on TV, if I'm out of it and I'm not doing anything, then I might as well just not even bother anymore. So this is why he even overshadowed. He has a part in the ending of the match as well, which is a bit confusing to what actually happens. But you can maybe, we'll get on to what happened, and then I'll tell you why I think they booked it like that, or why Steve booked it like that.
Well, I think there's a common sort of reasoning for that booking, but I'm gonna take a second to give us a friendly reminder that Farouk/Ron Simmons is our first ever black world heavyweight champion and deserves that recognition. I was a big fan of Simmons in WCW. We could wax lyrical about WCW all the time.
Yeah.
But I thought he really, except for the time where he had that silly blue helmet.
Yeah,
him was brilliant as well.
Yeah, he was brilliant. There was a what I'd like to do is we'll do a review on like the very early 90s WCW stuff. I'm a VHS buff. Jordan loves his VHSs. We love that nostalgia, and we love the history of it. So there were the first 5 WCW VHSs that were released in this country. I have them all. And it was Collision Course, it was Chamber of Horrors, it was Capital Carnage 90 with RoboCop, it was Capital Combat, yep. There was another one as well, Future Shock, and there was one more. So basically there was 5. And Simmons was booked. There was a really huge match where he was going for the title, I believe, in WCW against someone fairly huge, and they had this really they had this really big play up of, they went to his old university, and they had his jersey up there, his football jersey.
Yeah, they retired his number. That's how good he was.
Yeah. And they they had him training there for this match with his old football coach and that, and it was fantastic. So, we cannot underplay Ron Simmons from way before this, from 7-8 years before this in WCW. And we will go back and we will review those 5 early tapes of WCW, the first 5 UK WCW tapes that were released, and they were released in 1990. So, but yeah, Farouk, Ron Simmons, as you say, first black champion. Loving the Farouk Assad gimmick. That was his name, wasn't it? Farouk Assad.
I think so, yeah.
You know, the Farouk Assad gimmick and the Black Power stuff that was going on at this time. I mean, I liked it. I thought it was great. I liked the Nation of Domination. I mean, at one point, Owen Hart would join the Nation of Domination.
He would join them.
He would join them. And that was after Brett left.
Yeah.
And after Pillman had died, obviously, after Brett left, Neidhart had gone.
Davey and Anvil had gone as well.
Davey and Anvil had gone. And there was no, you know, if you watch The Dark Side of the Ring and you also watch Wrestling with Shadows, you will see that, you know, Owen, he was on his own. You know, he was on his own.
Yeah, he didn't adhere to family scripts, did he?
No, he was on his own. Yeah, that's why he joined the Nation of Domination. But it's such a sad story, the Owen Hart story, you know, because he was such a family man. He wanted to leave wrestling and have a farm and just live his life. He wanted to be a bloody fireman, you know. It's but growing up in the Hart family, obviously you're going to wrestle. But he had an idea. He said, "Look, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to have my life," you know. And it would. It's just sad, man. It's just so sad, and you know.
Yeah. JR says to King, "You want any fries with that Whopper?"
Yeah, he does.
To King being the Burger King and all of that.
He says grown men are wearing crowns. He said Owen needs a crown. He said there's a lot of grown men wearing crowns. How's that Whopper? Yeah.
As a match, it's nothing. It's nothing special.
No, and you can tell. Let me tell you something. Owen Hart, he had a spot that he'd done in every match, and every single time I saw him do it, I just thought it was phenomenal. It was the wrist lock, then he did the twisty thing, and then he did the turn and the flip kip up thing, and into the reversal thing. He didn't even do this in that match.
Yeah.
He just really. I mean, to be honest though, Stone Cold Steve Austin, the focus was on him half of the time. The focus. Yeah, it wasn't even on what was going on in the ring. It was, you like I say, he went over to Tito Santana and he was saying, "Oh, you know, you call me crazy." And he said, "You call me crazy. I can't speak Spanish, but you calling me crazy." And he's like, "Oh no, we're amigo, blah blah blah." And then he goes to the French one and he's like, "Blah blah blah. We're going to be in Montreal at Survivor Series, which would be Jordan.
The next month.
The next month would be the Montreal
November.
Screwjob. Yes.
Screwjob, Montreal. We will get to that one day.
It was a very
Anvil comes to ringside and does nothing.
Yeah, the only thing I thought was he wanted to just go and be there for Owen because he could probably see that Owen wasn't having a great time in the ring. I mean, Owen, being the guy he was probably distraught at what happened to Stone Cold Steve Austin as well. He can't have been happy that he'd injured him. You know, he would have been upset. It wouldn't have been a good thing for him.
No, it's not been a great month. Yeah.
No, you know, and for that to happen, you know, all I can think is that the Anvil came down just basically for moral support for Owen. That's all I could, as a shoot, man.
Austin clocks Farouk with the belt, and Owen wins. Owen gets the pin. It is muted celebrations. Owen sort of holds the belt up, doesn't even look that bothered. The booking wise, it seems that Austin has done it so he can get a rematch with Owen.
That's
what he does after the series.
Absolutely.
It's like I said, muted celebrations. There's nothing really. Owen just has the belt. He walks away. And yeah, then we move on to. I mean, now this is a weird one. I remember in the commentary, Jim Ross or Vince saying that the Patriot was getting over the flu.
Yeah, and
Oh,
the, and something else as well. Vader got beaten up
yeah,
in
in that
when
match.
he had in the match. Yes, and then King goes, "Oh, it sounds like you're making excuses for him already."
Patriot was getting over the flu. That one did make me laugh. It's not the most common sort of injury you put up with wrestling. You know, normally it's someone, back, ribs, neck, whatever. But no, he had the flu. So
Did you see Did they show you them getting the Patriot and Vader getting beaten up by the Hart Foundation on Raw? Yeah, you had that little bit,
yeah, yeah, you
and
see
then it
that with the
went on.
flag, the flags laid on them. Yeah,
Yeah.
and um, I thought that match would be next, but
So
it
did I.
wasn't.
Yeah.
They they went on with Los Boricuas and the DOA, which was more filler. And yeah, I you know what? Because it was treated as filler, I didn't even look up the names of Los Boricuas. I just knew that it was Savio, Jesus, and a couple of others.
No, it was Savio Vega. Yeah, Jesus Castillo, uh, Jose Estrada Jr. and Miguel Perez.
There you go. Thank you.
That's all right. And
Yeah,
the DOA, the Disciples of Apocalypse. Um, we did a video about a week ago about WrestleMania 11, and
yeah.
two of the people that were in that are in this under two completely new identities.
In the
As
hideous opener of WrestleMania 11, Jacob and Eli Blue are now Skull and 8 Ball
Skull and
in the
Eight Ball,
DOA.
the Harris boys.
You've got James, who was the fake Undertaker in 1993,
Correct.
or 4 even. I'm not, my years are
Yep.
off now. It's primetime Brian Lee, I think, in ECW.
Yep.
Has the honor of chokeslamming Tommy Dreamer off a balcony through some tables. And everyone's favorite Hawaiian Crush.
Yeah. Who had,
Who,
he'd had so many gimmicks as well, really.
I mean, not as many as Beefcake, but
Not as many as Beefcake, but
I don't think anyone's had as many as Beefcake.
no one ever has. Ed Leslie.
But yes, now here's where it says, like JR says, this match won't be a classic. We're all expecting that anyway. And in my notes, I've got that the commentary booth are referencing Pillman like it's part of a storyline, and I don't like it.
Yep.
This is when they do it. And
yep. It's when they talk about Marlena.
Yeah.
It's when they talk about Marlena. And Marlena left. Yeah, she left WWF at this time. After Pillman died, she was gone,
she does come back.
She does come back, but she went.
Yeah. Why do they keep bringing this up? Like, it's going to keep bringing us down on what we're doing here. Like, because they're using it as part of us. They're talking about it as part of a storyline, and I'm thinking, for fuck's sake, just let it go.
Yeah.
Like, either don't talk about it or be respectful.
Yeah.
And
it's
they did neither.
I still think it's part of it that Vince is shitting it, that it's going to come out that it was somehow a doctor connected with him that gave him pain pills and he'd OD'd on him.
Yeah. Yeah. Savio has a running, spinning wheel kick in the corner, which I quite liked because he lands on his feet.
I've got that written down. That was a high point in the match for me. And let's not forget that Savio Vega was at one point Quang as well.
Quang.
Who used to spit
the sound you get when the shit hits the fan, right?
Yeah, Quang. So he was Quang. But yeah, that was a fantastic spinning heel kick into the corner, and then he landed out on his feet. Brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff.
I've got here that Crush would leave after the Survivor Series, partly in protest of the screw job, and would be in WCW by February.
Crush, this is, yeah?
Yeah, Crush would leave. I didn't know he was such big friends or with anything with Brett. I hadn't seen any of that.
No, but I
in
mean,
any.
behind the scenes, he was there in Demolition days, weren't he? Crush.
Yeah, true.
He was way,
Uh,
he was way,
Working with Hot.
he'd been there early 90s.
But yeah, Crush would be gone eventually, like pretty soon after this. Um, did you see the oversell from Savio when Crush whacks him into a turnbuckle? And Savio spins around like 3 times.
Yeah.
I was like, what's happening here? Like maybe they're just trying to like rib each other and have some fun with it. And then we get the Tilt O World backbreaker that we mentioned earlier.
That's right. And it finished the match. A tilt-a-whirl backbreaker.
Must have been called in the ring. I can't imagine anyone's going out and saying, "Yeah, finish it with that, please."
Yeah. That's right. I mean, it was a messy match. It was a brawl. It was always going to be. Do you
It's
remember?
always going to be.
Do you remember at this time you had a few different factions? So you had there was a time, I can't remember what pay-per-view it was, but it was around this time. I think it was another In Your House where you had like it was like a gang match where you had like Disciples of Apocalypse, Los Boricuas, Nation of Domination.
Was this the same time as the Truth Commission as well?
Possibly, I'm not sure.
Kurgan and all of that.
It was like an actual. It was looked like a gang fight, and it was like
Yeah.
it was one of the worst clusterfucks ever.
As an idea, it sounds brilliant, but yeah, on when you play it out, it's that. I mean, I'll give I'll give someone their credit here. That sort of match would have been better suited to what we've seen recently on both major TV shows, as that cinematic style,
Yeah,
like your Undertaker, AJ Styles, or the Stadium Stampede that we saw last week in AEW.
you see
Like it would
Cornette.
have been better off doing it that way than just letting them go out in front of a live crowd, because it just doesn't work.
You see Cornette shat all over that.
He would. Jim Cornette hates everything that doesn't involve, a one-on-one match that goes 60 minutes full of rest holds.
Yeah, it's funny, right?
I love you.
A shout out to Vince Russo as well, because he made an interesting point. He did an interview with Hannibal. Remember, we was talking about Hannibal before, and he had a very interesting point, and he said, "Look, all these empty arena stuff going on at the moment. Wrestling doesn't work in empty arenas. As a one-off match here and there, yeah, it does. Didn't we have like Mankind versus The Rock in the empty arena match? We've had, I think Kurt Angle and Jeff Jarrett maybe had one in TNA at one point, an empty arena match. I was a huge fan of TNA at one time. I went to see them many times in the UK. I was even part of the street team, putting up posters and all that. I've got a load of TNA merchandise from back then. I've got you remember the British Invasion from TNA, which was Doug Williams and he's married to Mickey James.
Nick Aldis.
Nick Aldis, but he was called something else. He was called some Roman name back then.
He was on the revamp of Gladiators, wasn't he, over here?
Yeah, that's right. And he was called something like that.
And wasn't Rob Terry in it as well, something big guy.
Yeah, big Rob Terry. Yeah, so I've got a British Invasion T-shirt. I've got because there was a time where you had the British Invasion, you had Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Team 3D, Booker T, Sting.
What?
TNA at one point.
I have a signed TNA like postcard of AJ Styles. It's sitting on because where I am right now.
Yeah.
I'm in the bedroom here, like at home, and I have a mini fridge, and on that mini fridge, I'm staring at is a little signed photo of AJ Styles.
The phenomenal one. It was, they had Kurt Angle. They had the main event mafia thing that they were doing. At one time, TNA was actually smashing WWE's product out of the water. There wasn't, TNA at one point was absolutely fantastic. And when it went downhill?
When Hogan and them turned up.
When Hogan and them turned up and started taking over the booking, changed the ring.
I have one more piece of memorabilia from TNA, which is not to hand. It's in the wardrobe. I put it away earlier, like
Yeah.
putting some stuff away, and it did make me laugh. I went to WrestleMania 24. Incredible week, like incredible week, and on the day of WrestleMania, as you're on the approach, there was a small van handing out free TNA t-shirts.
Yes.
I have a free TNA t-shirt. It's still in good condition.
I remember you
Like,
showing me that. Yeah.
like they were trying their best to really make a go of it in 2008, and they were handing more free t-shirts out the night after at Raw. They were really trying it, and yeah, it was quite funny seeing, because in and around the area, like they had other shows and other things, like ROH were doing a little bit, but they weren't being as aggressive with their promotion like TNA were, trying to hand out free t-shirts and little bits of merch to try and I think they wanted people to wear these t-shirts on camera.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone was willing.
I don't think I spotted one.
Our very good friend Cactus Matt he wore it into the arena on Monday night on the Raw, and he got a few dirty looks and decided to change it back.
That was the thank you. That was the thank you, Rick.
That was
Raw,
thank you. Yeah.
which actually you and Matt can be spotted on the Ric Flair DVD going, thank you, Rick, thank you, Rick, thank you, Rick. I've spotted you a few times.
We do turn up.
Yes.
We do turn up on a Ric Flair DVD, which is capped off an amazing week, to be fair. So I haven't done it since. So if anyone needs any sort of inspiration to just get up and go to a WrestleMania when they start letting people back in, do it. Just do it. They are great. But we've skewed right off here.
Yeah, I don't know how we got onto TNA, but yeah, I mean, like I say, there was a time where TNA were absolutely smashing it. I don't know how we got onto it.
I've got Michael Cole with Brett and Davey.
Yes, that's the next. That's coming up. Yeah, hold on. Let me open me little. See, we're very professional. We make notes. Yeah, Brett and Davey promo. It's all the anti-American stuff, but you can see these two guys are not happy, and Brett don't take his glasses off.
Well, he's not wearing the wraparounds, is he? He's wearing the shades that look more familiar in WCW.
The round ones, correct.
But yeah, they say they're going to make an example and that they're better than the Americans. And then Bulldog just shouts out St. Louis, tries to get a cheap pop out of it, but it doesn't work.
No.
But yeah, that's then we cut to Doc Hendricks again, Mr. Hayes, with Vader and Patriot. Patriot wants to settle the whole thing. He's had enough. Vader says that the Bret motto, best there is, best ever will be, is bullshit.
Yeah, do they blank it out on the network?
They don't blank it out.
What, so it still says bullshit?
Yeah, he still says it.
And then you've just got Vince going, oh my. Like, it's
yeah,
it's funny, man. Yeah, I thought that was great.
I like this because Patriot comes out to Kurt Angle's music.
Yeah, because that's right, because Kurt Angle adopts the Patriots' music.
Yeah.
Can I just say one thing about this match?
Yeah.
It's a flag on a pole match.
It's a flag on a pole match, but now we get told it's with pin or submission as well. It's been agreed.
Yeah, see, why did they do that?
Because I don't think Vader could get up the pole.
Yeah, because we'll get to who won, but I personally think that no one could be fucked. No one could be asked.
That too, yeah.
They've just said, you know what? We're not going to be shimmying up any fucking poles tonight. We're going to make it look like, we're going to make it look like we're shimmying up a fucking pole, but we're not. We're not doing it.
Because we had an item on a pole match in our last episode, which the sock filled with coins or whatever it was.
The phallic coin purse.
And
on a
yeah, we
pole
had someone
match.
shimmying up a pole.
Yeah.
So I don't think Vader was ever planning on doing that either. Yeah, so they had pinning and submissions to the match. I've got here Vader's pretty over.
Vader is pretty over. He does something again phenomenal in this match.
Yeah, I think we're going to get to that. I think
Oh,
we haven't spoken about it, but I'm pretty sure we're going to get to it.
it's even better than the one we've spoken about previously. This one.
It's a pretty wild brawl to start. Both teams are using flag poles, and I think they just
Choking each
it's
other with the flags, dude. I thought that would
yeah,
might have. I don't think you're allowed to let the flag touch the floor in America.
that's a big deal in America.
But you got the
No
Patriot
flag on the
choking freaking the British Bulldog with also a quick side note, the Patriot, aka Del Wilkes,
field. Yeah,
um, he's got some very interesting shoot interviews where he talks about stuff that was going on backstage and the state that these guys' bodies were in, how battered they were, the drugs that they were taking, the steroids. Very,
well, I
very.
mean, I've not seen any of Del Wilkes' stuff, but I have seen other stuff with people that talk about Del, and they say how much of a nice man he was, how like he was too good for the wrestling business, didn't know how to politic, and like he said, like eventually people like Shawn Michaels and co would shove him out of the picture. He was probably like, and this guy's in phenomenal shape.
Oh, he was in great shape. One thing I've got to do, right? I've got my Kurt Angle entrance grates up here, my little figure, and it's where you press it and it plays the tune. Um,
There he is. The Patriot's on his way.
there you go. So we'll put you there, Mr. Angle. Um,
Um,
Kurt, Kurt
yeah,
Angle,
they said,
phenomenal worker.
said that the Patriot just didn't know how to be a politician backstage, and that was his only downfall.
Yeah, too honest.
Yeah, probably. Um, yeah, Brett hits him with a low blow. Uh, Bulldog makes a mess of a drop kick that the Patriot tries to throw. Did you see
It
that
was a
one?
great drop kick as well. It was an absolutely, yeah, it was a great one, but it just like scuffed his head with it.
It just crumples into it, and it really makes a mess of it.
I don't think
We got
Davey was in great condition physically at this point by 97.
physically and emotionally too. We'll stick that. I'll give him a pass on that. He doesn't really injure himself properly until he gets to WCW, where he lands on the trapdoor
Correct.
or something. Yeah. Brett hits the ring post figure four, which I always thought was a devastating move. Really good. Brett's playing heel in this, and he's playing it really well.
Yeah.
At one point, he powers away from Vader, and I started laughing. And it was quite late last night, and I'm trying not to laugh too much because kids are asleep and stuff. But yeah, it was I did chuck at that because Brett just went into full retreat and just cowered like on the ground
Great
from
stuff.
Vader. At one point, again, like that suplex, bulldog suplex, it's special. It's a really nice sort of move. Always gets a decent sort of reaction to it. And then I've got here after the suplex that again it's my nose because it's just the way it is. Just Brett looks really distracted.
Yeah, he's not
We
fully
go,
there.
yeah, we go back.
Bulldog's not there. Bulldog also does a thing. He's in the corner going up for the flag, and Vader gets him like he's gonna slam him on like he's gonna do like a razor's edge kind of thing, or like a get behind him so he can power bomb him or whatever. And instead of doing that, he just drops and lands his nuts on the corner to do that spot. I don't think any of them wanted to compete. They were completely distracted.
And this is where, like, I mean, the crowd sort of died off a little bit as well. Like things went really quiet, and this is where I took a break. I stopped it, and I thought, you know what, this is getting harder and harder to watch. So I took a nice little break from watching the rest of the show for a good few hours. I just thought, you know what, I need to just stop from it because this isn't good for anyone. Like it was really constant, like how these guys were just they really went up to it.
No, no one was happy,
And
including someone in the crowd, Jordan.
yeah, I I do go back to it, eventually. And this is where I have this spot. Vader goes to the top to perform what I think is going to be the moonsault. Bulldog moves. Vader lands on his fucking feet.
On his feet, dude. This is, you know, we've said about Vader's moonsault before, where sometimes he does it, you know, and sometimes he does it a little bit twisted or whatever, but that was in like 93. He'd obviously been practicing and doing it a little bit more. Dude, a guy Vader's size, Leon, big up yourself, big man. You know what I mean? How you could get to the
450-pound man.
You know, you're doing a backflip off the top and landing on your feet like a gymnast, dude, on your tippy toes.
He's incredibly dominant in the match as well. Like, and it brings us to the point: why wasn't he champion in the WWF? And we know why he wasn't champion. It's because Shawn Michaels pissed all over him.
Yeah.
But you know, the plan originally was for Vader to win at Survivor Series '96, and then lose it to Shawn at Royal Rumble. But Shawn got upset and started chucking his toys and maneuvered Sid into that position, which doesn't, hurt the day to day. Like we're big fans of Sid, but that was Vader's chance.
Yeah.
And in this match in particular, you can see why he should have been champion.
Yeah, I mean, he looked great. He could move. You know, he had connection. The fans liked him. It's time. It's Vader time. Who's the man? You know, they liked him. People liked him.
He should have. Yeah, I feel like he should have had a better run. Brett hits Vader with a ring bell. Now, I found this weird. I don't know if you did, but I found it weird that Jerry Lawler was Brett's main cheerleader in this match.
I found it odd as well. Yeah, because I mean, he'd constantly slated Bret Hart in favour of Owen Hart.
And he would constantly slate Stu and Helen as well.
Constantly, and like really bad. Like I say, we've mentioned it on other shows, where he talks about, when Stu Hart's been wrestling so long, I went to Egypt and saw a hieroglyph of him with King Tut in a headlock. It's he was constantly going on at Stu Hart, but it was great. He says something like, he says something like, "Oh, these fans are mad at Bret. He's only telling the truth."
Yeah.
It was, and Bret.
One fan has decided he's had enough and tries to get in the ring. He gets as far as maybe just underneath the bottom rope when referee Mike Chioda and Davey step in. Chioda just starts kicking him under the ropes. Yeah. Davey looks like he's ready to lay in a few shots.
I mean, of all nights to do it, don't
you're on
get
live TV.
Fucking hell, man! You got a death wish. It was still real to him, damn it. And he got in the ring. Maybe the anti-American stuff got too much. Hitting, Bret hitting Vader with a bell or whatever. But, of all nights, when they've just found out that Brian Pillman has died, you're going to get in and... I mean, Bulldog would have killed him. And Mike Chioda, actually, Bulldog was going to follow him off the apron and continue to stomp a
Kyoto
muddo in
reminds
his
him,
ass.
yeah.
And
Kyoto reminds him
Kyoto,
that he's on pay-per-view, he's on live TV. Yeah, we're live, pal.
yeah, he's like, come on, dude, focus, man, focus, let's get this done,
Yeah.
you know?
Um, there's a Vader bomb on Brett. Again, this match isn't. It's a mess. It's all over the place. Brett gets a roll up on the Patriot for a 3 count in a capture the flag match.
Yeah, it's like a double roll up as well, because first Brett gets caught in a roll up and then somehow he rolls over and gets the Patriot in it, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, to be a bit heely, he should have maybe grabbed the ropes or something like that to make it a little bit more.
Does he not have the trunks a little bit?
He does have the trunks a little bit, yeah, but I mean, he should have fully bare-assed him, you know, with the trunks.
If that's what you wanted to see, then fine.
But no, it makes it more heely, doesn't it? To give off that he's pulling his. That's how he's won it. But yes, I would. I'm sure I would have been happy to see the Patriots' butt cheeks.
Del Wilkes, if you've ever time to slide into someone's DMs, that's it. Yeah. Something I noticed again, there's no real celebrations in this match. But on the way out, heel Brett still high fives a kid in a wheelchair. I mean, that's just Brett, isn't it? Like,
yeah, I mean,
he's not gonna, pie off a little kid in a wheelchair.
no, he's not
And
MJF.
he high five someone else as well, like on the way out. But
Yeah.
that's just, yeah, I mean, that's classy. That is.
I mean, Brett the Hitman Hart. Guys, if any of our viewers haven't seen Wrestling with Shadows, I suggest you watch it, because it is basically Brett. I mean, I'm one of these people of the belief that actually the Montreal Screwjob was actually a work. I actually do believe it was a work.
I've heard rumours to that effect.
Because it just seems really strange that Brett had a video crew with him at the time. Brett didn't enjoy what he was doing at that time, being a heel. It wasn't fun for him. He didn't like it. He didn't sticking up to the fans.
I know where I stand on this. Are you a Brett or a Sean guy?
It's very difficult to pick between Brett the Hitman Hart and Sean. I mean, on the spot, fuck. I mean, for excitement, Sean, but for legitimacy and believability and me actually wanting someone to win, Brett. You know,
yeah.
Brett was legitimately, and I say he was the best there is, the best was, the best there ever will be. You know, you won't find someone like Brett for a long time. I don't think. You know, Shawn Michaels, you can't take anything away from him, but I think his arrogance in real life and his dickishness in real life, you know, it goes against him. But people always, it annoys me when people say that Brett is whingy and bitter and moany. You know, because I don't see that in Brett. I mean, I'd be pissed off if Goldberg would have kicked my head off and ended my career early. You know? Fuck that.
Just for reference, I'm a Brett guy too. Like, I understand how Shawn Michaels is, you know, an amazing talent, one of the best workers in the world at the time. But I prefer Brett. That's just me.
And just a bit of memorabilia that I picked up only just today is a Brett the Hitman Hart signed box set, which I was extremely chuffed to get, man. Oh, dude, amazing. And his signature is one of the best signatures of all wrestlers. It's a piece of art.
I have a signed photo of Brett as well myself. I'm, very proud of it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we're just marks, aren't we?
We're just, dude, we just love this stuff, man. Like, you know, we're going through lockdown at the moment, you know. I mean, things are a bit of a strange time. You know, I run my own business and haven't really got much business going on at the moment, you know. And it's just one of them things where wrestling is like, you know, we've always loved wrestling. It's always been a kind of soap opera for men, you know. But in these times, you know, we need stuff that we like, you know, to get us through these times, you know. And if
that's it. like we have day jobs, don't we?
Yeah,
Like
of
my
course.
day job keeps me. Like, I do still have to put in 48 hours a week at the minute. It's and then when we're home, we're back home. We're stuck indoors again. Like, and it's not a lot to go on. And it is. You stick on wrestling, you go back to it, and it takes you away.
I was some nights it's tough to sleep because I haven't got me patterns. Obviously when I've got the business is up and running and I've got work and doing days, but now sometimes I'll have a really late one, and my missus was trying to sleep last night, and this is just the joy that wrestling brings. Like, I'm watching Enzo Amore promos and just laughing my ass off and waking my missus up, like, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Swift," like I've got my 9-year-old son saying Swift. It's just, you know.
I've managed to get my 4-year-old to sweet it,
Yeah,
but
dude, I've seen it. I've seen
so
it.
so
It's
far.
it's it's true. It's true. In the words of Mr. Angle.
Um, After Brett and Bulldog leave, we get a Survivor Series promo. I've just put next to it. Oh, there's a storm coming,
Yes.
and that's going to be its own show.
For anyone who isn't aware, we have mentioned it. It is the Survivor Series in Montreal, where the main event would be Bret the Hitman Hart versus Shawn Michaels.
Um, the cell is being lowered. JR says once you're in, there's nowhere to go. Not necessarily true, but thanks, Jim. Um, Doc, our man Doc, is back with Shawn Michaels, Triple H, China, and Rick Rude, the insurance policy.
Yeah.
Um, Shawn says at one point he's tougher than nails, and in my head, I went back to the geezer in the orange jumpsuit.
With the messed up voice.
I
Boss
shouldn't have.
man!
That's where we went. Yeah, that's
Boss
what I was.
man!
I think he's trying to get a new feud going with Nails or something. But he says here he's going to show us why he's the number one guy in this business, and
It was a
it's
braggadocious promo. It was,
just Sean being Sean.
yeah, it was Shawn being Shawn.
Um, we've got Sergeant Slaughter checking. No, sorry, Sergeant Slaughter in his brown loafers.
Checking under the
I
ring.
don't know why I noticed that. Yeah, don't know why he's wearing brown. I don't know why I sort of noticed that. He's checking under the ring for any sort of, as Dusty would say, plunder.
Any plunder
Um,
or any persons.
yeah. Michaels is led out by Triple H and China and Rude again. Sorry, the insurance policy. Rude would leave after the screw job as well, and have that infamous sort of record of being on both shows in one night.
Hmm.
Raw was taped and Nitro was live, leaving Vince and his crew with a red face.
Did you get the little vignette, like Shawn Michaels video, like setting him up as a heel before
Yeah,
the match? And he says this line, perception is reality. And I just like that because it's just, that was Shawn Michaels' ideology in
yeah,
wrestling. It was, he would always create these perceptions of this, that, and the other. Because in his shoot video, he says, oh, the Click, we didn't have any power. It was just we used to go to the boss with ideas and he used to use them. Dude, that's
like
your perception.
no, yeah, like it's yeah. HBK's let out, and then we have the lights go out. It's that big mysterious Undertaker entrance. Vince says that Sean's he's like a rat in a trap.
Yes, he
Which I thought
does.
was a good line. Undertaker's entrance felt really long here. I don't know if it did for you.
Yeah, I think they were trying to build up the pressure, but I think they also wanted to stretch the time out a little bit. You've
Yeah,
got Shawn
possibly.
Michaels, pacing in the ring, panicking as the Undertaker's coming in. Um, yeah, is a long entrance, but Undertaker's always known for having long entrances, wasn't he?
Yeah. Taker gets in the ring. Straight away, Sean is bumping crazy. Takes a big boot. He's just
OTT.
selling like,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a back body drop where Sean's feet clip the edge of the top of the cell, which could have been a bit dangerous.
Yeah.
Probably why you see the cells now are a lot higher. But yeah. They talk a lot about Shawn Michaels' resilience in this.
Yeah.
They go on and on about how resilient he is, how he can take a beating and keep going.
That's right.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we understand. Sean takes, I think it's a bump out of the ring into the cell.
Yeah.
And JR's line, but people will tell you, yeah, he knows how to fall.
I've got that written down as well, because I remember it from, I was 15 when this was on. 1997. Yeah. I was 15 and I remember watching it, and I remember JR saying that specific line, and he says, probably some idiot at home saying, yeah, but he knows how to fall. And I've never forgot that line. It's, yeah, he takes a bump outside the ring. He gets kind of back body drops kind of outside, up against the post, up against the cage, and then slips down.
He lands on his shoulder and his side.
Shoulder and his hip. Yeah. It looked brutal. There was a black rose on the floor as well where he landed.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I wondered. I didn't know where it came from. Weird.
I thought it was quite innovative. Some of it, like Taker tries to get him up for a power bomb or something in the corner of the cell.
He holds.
And Sean goes on, and starts laying in.
Yeah.
Like, awesome. Yeah, I thought it was really, like, obviously it's going to be innovative because it's a Hell in a Cell. It's not been seen in the WWF. And yeah, at this point though, Taker's not selling the thing.
No. No.
He's not selling the damn thing for Sean.
And he's battering him. He's absolutely battering him at this point. Michaels does have a comeback though.
Yes, he does. He's hanging from the cage, but he manages to drop an elbow on the Undertaker. I really like that as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, Michaels is starting to get into it. He hits a pile driver on the steps.
Yeah.
And he's starting to take control. This match is building. It's starting to get really good. And I'm glued to it at this point.
Yeah, it was once Michaels had a little comeback, he'd picked up the stairs, he'd smacked it on the Undertaker a couple of times, because this also was a transition for the Undertaker, because it was a transition from the more robotic original Undertaker where you rarely saw his face. His hair was down the front, he had the white makeup on. Yeah, like the older style Undertaker. Then he had the rebirth, didn't he? Where he was in the casket match with Yokozuna. All the people put him in there and he died, and then he was reborn. And you had the fake Undertaker. But then, excuse me, then you had this kind of Undertaker, which was, even you can see from the picture on the front of the VHS. It was a different kind of Undertaker. He had a different garb on. It was a bit more modern. He was a bit less robotic. He had more animated face. He was becoming the dead. It's the dead man. He was evolving as a character at this point. It's definitely a transition Taker at this point.
He's there's a lot more punches, there's body punches and stuff like that. Some things you notice.
Yes, yeah.
Like
the MMA style body punches.
The old Undertaker's not throwing body punches. Yeah.
No.
Like Sean gets the chair, and starts using it. The chair is the weapon that he used at SummerSlam, where Taker loses the title to Brett. And they go on about that as being some sort of big point of reference. Taker's tied up in the ropes, and he backdrops Shawn onto the cameraman.
Yes. I tried to find out who this cameraman was, because in all likelihood, yeah, he would have been someone who was in developmental or something, or
most likely, yeah.
Or what they did to Enzo and to Enzo Amore. At some point, they put these guys in developmental in the yellow security tops, and then they're the ones that go to the ring and they collect the guys, outfits and how you doing? Sorry.
HBK wipes him out and then starts stomping on him. It's like, oh.
But then, what's funny, dude? That pissed me off even more. Vince McMahon says, "Oh, our thoughts go out and we apologise to the cameraman's family." You didn't do that to fucking Pillman.
Yeah, I've got this on my notes. What is going on here?
Dude!
He apologises to the cameraman's family. I've got that with like question marks and exclamation points and everything. Like, seriously, that's like I said, it was tasteless earlier on, and it's tasteless now.
It's crazy.
Michaels hits the elbow from the top rope. JR, and I'm sure he's been fed this line.
Yes.
He's never seen anyone do it better in the WWF.
Ever.
That move, and I'm like,
yeah, nah, he says ever.
I'm not having that.
Not having it, dude. Machos was phenomenal.
Like, I'm sure he was fed that line. I'm pretty sure he didn't come up with that on his own.
That's been written down and pushed in front of him.
Yeah, I'm thinking Vince had either shoved it next to him, or Kevin Dunn or whoever in the truck has said, "Yeah, go on, say it, Jim." Oh, yeah, what a shit line that was.
Yeah.
Sweet chin music, Taker no sells the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
Just sit back. He just sits up and it's like, okay, this is good. Yeah, this is getting good. They manage to get out the cage because they're trying to get this cameraman out. Shawn manages to barge his way through. Taker follows him, and Taker just beats the crap out of him out there.
Yeah, because that's what happens. He gives him the sweet chin music. Taker no sells it and does the whole sit up gimmick, and then when he sees the door open, Shawn just makes a run for it to get out. I mean, to be fair as well, like, I mean, Undertaker, one of my favourite WrestleMania matches ever was the first Undertaker Shawn Michaels match at WrestleMania. It was at 25.
I think it was at 25. Yeah.
And it was because then they had another, and there was so many like near falls, and it was great. But then the next year they done another one, or the year after the year after that they did another one, and they were trying to recapture.
It was match, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and they tried to do an Angel versus you had the Shawn as the born again Christian. Yeah, I mean, so they've had some really good matches. I mean, and this, without doubt, was a good match. The fact that Hell in a Cell, this is the first. It actually became a pay-per-view in the following years, but Hell in a Cell, this was the first WWF Hell in a Cell. We'd had in WCW, we'd had War Games, and we'd had cages, Chamber of Horrors. We'd had.
I think we had the Thunderdome cage as well.
Yeah, so we'd had stuff like that outside of the WWF universe, but for WWF this was innovative, and you got two good guys in there. It was becoming a good match, and like you say, they as they're trying to cart this guy out. The cameraman out.
We send our thoughts out to his family at this point, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unbelievable. Yeah, don't, man. It really pissed me off when I heard that. I thought you didn't even need to say that. They're saying, "Oh, here's a lawsuit coming. There's a lawsuit coming." And I'm thinking there could be a fucking lawsuit coming with Pillman. Depending
Yeah.
where he got his bits and bobs from. But anyway,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. Taker beats the shit out of him. He's javelin throwing him into the cage. Shawn gives it the old 1-2 across the forehead.
The thing is, right, before this happens, okay, they're setting up for the catapult thing, okay? So Shawn Michaels tries to basically do like a double-footed drop kick. He does like a double-foot drop kick onto Taker, but this is on the outside and there's no mat on this bit, and Shawn does this twice. And whatever you want to say about Shawn, he's fucking tough, man, because he lands flat-backed on concrete twice, yeah? And he does it once, and Taker doesn't quite grab his legs, because he does the two-footed drop kick, and Taker, I assume, is supposed to grab his legs. Doesn't do it. Does it again. Taker grabs his legs, and then he does a slingshot up against the. But does he do the old 1-2? Because
before he does it, as he's in the slingshot.
That's right.
Just before he hits the plate.
That's right.
Just about to.
Yes. Great stuff.
Yeah.
And he's.
I mean, this adds to the match completely. It makes it even crazier than it already is.
Because he's pissing. He's pissing blood at this point.
Yeah. Shawn escapes and manages to climb the cell. Taker goes up after him. This is something, on top of the cell spots we would see later on in a different Hell in a Cell, which would be stuck in our minds forever. But this one, and I've got here my notes, the backdrop by Taker on Shawn on the top of the cage. I was panicking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, I mean, this cage probably isn't designed to hold on top.
No.
And yeah, they do a press slam as well.
Right, they do the press slam right close to the edge, and it looks like Shawn's going to fall off.
And King even says like the steel's starting to bend, and it's like, Jesus Christ, like, what are you playing at? And we get to, it's probably the second most iconic Hell in a Cell spot in history.
Correct.
Jerry Lawler shouting, incoming. Because Shawn hanging from the edge, he doesn't go flying off, goes through the Spanish announce table. And it's something to see. But yeah, obviously it gets eclipsed by Mick Foley later on.
Mm-hmm.
Because Mick does crazy Mick stuff and goes flying off through one. But yeah, this is really impressive. And Michaels is grafting on this one. He's really putting the effort in.
Oh yeah, I mean,
people can say about him,
yeah,
but he's selfless tonight here. Like, just putting everything into this match.
I mean, they're looking up at him when they're on top. They've got a camera inside the cage, and while they're on the top, you've got droplets of blood dripping through the cage onto the camera, and you can see the blood on the camera lens. It's incredible.
Yeah, he's suffering for his art tonight. I mean, I've got again here, like, JR, he's got Michaels maybe broken in half. Like, it's a saying that he would use later on, that, which is probably why we forget that he says it in '97, because in '98 it goes on to, as God is my witness, he may be broken in half, whatever about Mick.
Yeah.
So again, like, Mick's fall has almost completely eclipsed what Shawn did, which probably might have eaten at Shawn a little bit back then. I'm sure he's fine with it now.
He actually said, he actually said at one point, he said, and then Mick did that, and he's like, whatever, Mick, you can have that, man. He's like, you crazy bastard. He's like, you can have it, man. If you want that, you can have that.
I've got here, HBK is a mess. It's like, you can see it from his nose, like they do a close up, the blood's just pouring out.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a choke slam from the top rope. which is like it's really hammering it home that Sean's getting a battering.
Yeah.
Um, Unprotected chair shots, not my thing, but Sean takes one, and
Taker takes one earlier on in the match as well, a really savage,
yeah,
unprotected chair shot that looks brutal.
yeah, it was never my thing, to be honest, even back in the day. But yeah, it is an unprotected chair shot on Sean, who's already bleeding and all over the place. And just as we're expecting a finish, the lights go out. We've got some ominous organ sort of music, and all we've got is Paul Bearer being led out by someone that, I mean, I'm sure you know the call that Vince makes. That's gotta be Kane.
That's got to be Kane. Was there anything leading up to this though? Wasn't there when they was talking about, you know?
Well, Paul Bearer says that Kane's alive,
Yeah.
like Raw, like earlier on.
Yeah.
But there's no sight of him until this pay-per-view, and yeah, Kane. What would eventually we would know as Kane comes down, rips the door off the cell, like showing his massive strength, summons fire from the ring posts, which, I mean, obviously he can do it. He's Kane. He's got magic powers. Did you know about magic powers?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And he picks up the Undertaker and then spins around to show everyone how strong he is, and then tombstones
That's
him.
right. While holding him, he walks around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, he picks him up, makes sure he shows every angle, every cameraman that he's about to tombstone his older brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quick question: did you expect Glenn Jacobs' career to go as long as it did from Kane, from that gimmick?
No, I didn't. And first of all, I heard he used to be a dentist.
Yeah, he had a bit of a he had a practice somewhere.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
used to be a dentist. With one of the greatest gimmick names of all time.
Yeah.
Isaac Yankem DDS. Yankem. It is just phenomenal stuff, even for early 90s. But no, I didn't expect his career to go as far as it did. And I always thought it was a very, very bad idea for them to demask him. Because I always thought that Kane should have never, ever, ever have taken off his mask. Ever. We should have never known that Kane was who he is. Never. Because the whole thing was his face was burnt from the fire and all that, and then they fucking killed that, and then it's just a guy with black makeup on.
I mean, I think they had some sort of prosthetic sort of mask thing
Initially
that
they did.
considering.
Yes, initially they did. And it was just like, it wasn't like a Freddy Krueger burn, but it was like, you know, wobbly skin or whatever. But no, man, I never expected Kane would have gone as far as he did. Fair play to Glenn Jacobs for doing that as well. And, you know,
Shout out to Mayor Glenn Jacobs.
Mayor Glenn Jacobs, you know, he did it. And one of my all-time favourite vignette promos, whatever you want to call them, is when you've got Hulk Hogan and The Rock team up with Kane, and you've got The Rock and Hulk Hogan, they're chatting about Kane and all this, and then Kane comes in and does the, you know, the millions and millions of Rock's fans, and then the thousands of Canaanites, and then The Rock goes, you know, like, it's just phenomenal stuff. What you gonna do? And the big red machine, you know, at that kind of era when Kane was coming out of it, it was great stuff, you know. But he should never have taken his mask off. That is my one thing that I was upset with Kane, that they demasked him, because, you know, it could have gone on even longer. You know, They could have done so much
He-
more with it.
But he does. I mean, when did he took his mask off in what, 2003, something like that?
Oh, mate, you're
Maybe even
testing me
two.
now. I don't know.
But but yeah, like he hasn't got his mask in 2004 because that's when he goes back against the Undertaker. But yeah, he I mean he's up until last year he was still jumping in the ring every now and again. So as Kane. So I mean, what a gimmick. I mean,
Fantastic.
yeah.
It was, sorry, was he supposed to have
Kane,
a different name as well? I
I'm not sure about
I
that.
think I think initially he was meant to have a different name than Kane, but then they went with the biblical.
Well, the Undertaker was originally Kane the Undertaker, wasn't
Ah, that's right. That's right. That's
he?
maybe where I. Sorry. Yes, that's correct. He was supposed to be Kane the Undertaker.
Yeah. HBK manages to drape his arm across the Undertaker. We get a very slow 3 count. Undertaker is selling this tombstone forever.
Yeah. And the referee's count was
That,
extremely long, even though Kane pushed him out of the way. He shouldn't have been
yeah.
that battered. It was a fucking 10 count.
I've got here on my notes that in 1997, Shawn Michaels is definitely the best wrestler slash worker in the world.
That's a bold statement, my friend.
I think it is, but for the best, I think it's Michaels' best work.
Oh, it's great. I mean, I mean, he was hot off the, a year ago, a year and a bit before this, he'd had that amazing ladder match with Razor. He was top of the game.
Yeah.
And to be honest, he didn't seem phased by the Pillman incident. Not that he didn't
No.
give a shit, but
But,
there was some crotch chopping going on the exit as
yeah.
well.
Triple H and China come down to literally drag Shawn out of the cage.
Yeah.
And up the aisle. And then Triple H is obviously arguing with someone and just starts crotch chopping.
He starts chopping Shawn's crotch. If I've it's good stuff, man. And this is pre-DX.
Yeah. They go to shots of the Undertaker starting to wake up. It's been like 3 minutes, and he's finally shaking the cobwebs off. Vince thanks us all for joining them, and so long, ladies and gentlemen. And that's it. That's Bad Blood in your house.
In your house, 18. Bad Blood, 5th of October, 1997.
I wish I could say it was a good show and be really positive about it. I'll be positive and say there's some good stuff, and we always talk about the good stuff and we always mention it, but this is not a good show.
No, but we give it we understand why it possibly wasn't as good as it could have been, because we can't imagine what it would be like, on a day where you've just found out literally hours ago. Some people might not have even found out until they got to the arena.
Yeah.
So some people are turning up at the arena an hour before they go on or whatever, and they say, look, fucking Brian Pillman died this afternoon.
And some people wouldn't have taken it as gospel. Yeah, they probably said, oh, like some sort of hoax or even part of a story, part of a work.
Yeah.
And the way they were talking about it in some of these things, you might have thought it was a work as well.
Yeah.
Which is a bit worse. But yeah, not my fate. Like we said we were going to watch this, and then when we started watching it, we both sort of agreed this wasn't our favourite, our best choice.
I think the problem is we'd seen it so long ago, and I actually have the Hell in a Cell DVD, so I watched the Hell in a Cell match, separate from the pay-per-view, and it's been a while. I mean, as I was saying to Jordan, one of my cassettes is on its way out of this, and I have 2 copies of it, because it it's one of them ones where it's an iconic
Yeah.
pay-per-view. You know, it is the first ever Hell in a Cell match. It is the debut of Kane. It is the day when Brian Pillman died. It is, you know, it's got a lot of stuff, important stuff in the background going on. It's the pay-per-view before the Montreal Screwjob. It's got a lot of stuff backstage that is in Bret the Hitman Hart's documentary Wrestling with Shadows. So it's a very important pay-per-view, but it's not one of the best, and we understand why, you know.
And yeah, that's exactly it. We understand why, and you know, maybe like our next pay-per-view will definitely have a bit more fun, you know, or a fun element to
But
it.
it's also,
we'll try and perk things up.
It's also crazy that this pay-per-view is an 18.
I think the blood and stuff in the main event,
yeah,
likely makes it an 18.
And that's why Vader was
You only have
allowed to
look at
say
the cover.
bullshit.
Yeah, I think you only have to look at the cover. I mean, Undertaker's holding a severed head of himself.
Yeah,
which
it's great.
I mean, that's you're not putting that on the bottom shelf or the middle shelf, are you?
Is that
for
not
your kids
head?
to see.
Is that not Al Snow's head? No. What does everybody want?
Yeah, shout out to Al. I'm pretty sure that's not his
That's not head.
his head.
No.
No. But yeah, we'll watch something. We'll watch something definitely a lot more fun, and try and, you know, get ourselves out of this, because this one didn't leave the best taste, did it?
No, it didn't. It wasn't fun. I mean, the main event was good, but it wasn't. It was poignant one to watch, and it was sad. It was a bit sad, like you say, knowing what we know now and being the age we are when you watch this. But I mean, still, people, please watch it. Don't just take our word for it.
Yeah.
You know, please watch this. It's on the network. You can pick up VHSs. You know, and
you've got one get stared down, haven't you, Chris?
I mean, this will be an ongoing thing. This is, I mean, you can see from our backgrounds, when we've got our videos, we always try and have the VHS covers. I will always watch the VHSs. There's not much that I don't have on VHS. There's a few.
Yeah, I don't have the extensive library of it. I have some VHS. I don't have anywhere near as many as Chris.
And I'm still adding. And the ones that I don't have, I'm still adding to my collection. I would love to have a complete anthology of everything that was. I mean, I've got ECW VHSs, I've got WCW, I've got WWF, I've got Japanese death matches. I mean, I also have, which I would like us to do, but maybe it's not the time to do it. But we will be doing other stuff like Beyond the Mat, which would be great to review. So we will try and do something a bit more fun. I mean, we won't discuss it now, but it will probably be WCW. Would you say, Judd?
Yeah, I can imagine we'll flip onto a WCW show. I'm not sure what year yet. Like, there's plenty to choose from. There's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of bad stuff too to choose from.
Yeah.
But you know, if anyone has any ideas on what they would like us to watch, please make it good.
Yeah.
You can find us at Chat Grapple Pops on Twitter. We're pretty active on there.
Yeah.
We like to, you know, engage with anyone and everyone that wants to send us a message.
We even engage with ourselves, you know, because what I'm going to start doing when I tweet, I will just put Chris in brackets, and maybe when JB tweets, he could put JB in brackets at the end of the tweet, because then myself and JB can actually maybe have conversations with each other using the same, and it will be on the thread, because he put up something today that I didn't disagree with, but I just had a different viewpoint on it. So, you know, but JB is the more active on Twitter. He's been smashing it. He's been doing a few bits on there, and we thank everybody who's subscribing. We thank everybody who's following us on Twitter. Big up yourselves. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate all the views we're getting on YouTube. Like, you know, JB was saying, you know, we never imagined that people would want to listen to us sit and talk for 2 hours about wrestling. It was,
Yeah.
you know, we thought maybe 50 views or something like that, you know, but some of our videos, you know, our first videos getting up to over 400 views and that, you know what I mean? And it's only been up a couple of weeks, or,
Yeah.
you know, it's incredible. And we're getting consistent numbers, so we really do appreciate it. Hit us up on the Twitter at Chat Grapple Pops. YouTube, it is Chat Grapple and Cheap Pops podcast. Yeah, in the link below that way. Yeah, it is the little bell.
Like and subscribe.
Yep, like, subscribe, touch
the
the
one, hit the
bell.
bell.
That's right. Do this thing. We'd love to convert some of the stuff that we're doing on Twitter onto YouTube, get some more subscribers. That would be fantastic. So there we go, JB. Another one in the bag, my friend.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, my dude.
You know, like you said, like and subscribe. Talk to us. You know, let us know if you like it. Anything you don't like. You know, we're a work in progress. This is 5 episodes.
Yeah.
You know, nothing is perfect. We are, you know, we're open to any suggestions.
And just quickly as well, when this coronavirus bullshit finishes, myself and Jordan, we will be taking our fantastic hoodies. Yeah, we will be taking the hoodies that were made for us. We're going to be taking these out and about. Yeah, Dreadmania. Yeah, you see, we're going to be taking these out and about, and we're going to be going. Yeah, dude, JB Mania. We're going to be taking these out and about. We're going to be doing vlogs. We're going to be going to local wrestling shows. You know, when we have people coming, you know, when we have people coming over from the States, when we have little shows around where we are, even if they're a little bit down the way, you know, we're going to be going and doing this stuff. You know, we want to get out. But it's just at the moment, we are in our rooms. That's all we can do. But we will be doing shows where we're sitting next to each other on a couch or on a table with a lovely green screen with some lovely graphics. But at the moment, you just have to deal with us in these little boxes for the time being. Like JB says, we're a work in progress. But thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. I'm Chris Dredd, the main man, JB. We are Chat, Grapple and Cheap Pops podcast, man.
Stay safe, everyone. Support your local indie wrestlers.
Yeah, dude.
Take care.
Peace out.